Good afternoon, and welcome to the Gibson Museum's chat for June 2022. I'm Doris Brumfield, and I'm president of the Friends of Gibson, and we have our vice chair of the Friends of the Gibson, who is one of our speakers, Ms. Millie Simon. We also have our secretary here, who is Janet Klein, and we also have the museum's manager for all three county museums, and that is Corey Jensen. And we're thrilled to have our videographer here again, Gabriele. She has videotaped all three of our chats for the Gibson each month, and they are online, and she does a wonderful job of editing. We have two wonderful speakers here who are going to be highlighting the veterans who are buried at the Middletown Rancheria Cemetery. But we are going to begin with the Honor Guard, the Military Funeral Honors team of Lake County, who are composed of Bob Perez, Robert Bell, and Gary Collins. They live in Kelseyville and one in Upper Lake. And we are thrilled that they are here. If you would please stand as they post the colors. And then we will say the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Jen.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Please know that Robert Bell is also the tribal veteran representative. You may be seated. The elders of the Middletown Rancheria, Millie Simon and Jose Moke.
Well, he's not an elder, he's our youngster. Yeah.
Oh, he's still a kid.
Thank you. When he reaches 68 or 65, then we'll
65, then okay.
Yeah, he's just
Okay.
had to do the counting and helping us out there.
He's in training, an elder in training. Very good.
So we're starting?
You are starting.
Oh, okay. You want me to go first? I don't know. You want to go first? You got things to do, so if you want to.
I will go ahead and go first, absolutely. It's an honor to be here today. You know, a few years back, it was 8 or 10 years ago, I think, I got my first invitation as the tribal chairman of the Middletown Rancheria to come to the Middletown Cemetery celebration of the veterans on Memorial Day and to read those names. And, obviously internally we are, always respecting our elders and our ancestors who've gone before us, but I was really happy that I got that invitation. As a young man growing up, obviously looking up to my Uncle Ed, which was, my dad's brother, and Anthony will talk about him as her brother also. But knowing and understanding the history we have, I was very honored. And each year I get to do that, and very emotional about that. I said something last, at our ceremony we just did, that I made sure to read all of these names, both the ones at the cemetery and the ones that laid at ours, when the pandemic had everything shut down and no events were happening. I felt like these names needed to be said out loud and to be heard, so we have those honors happening throughout the time, even in the worst of times. Because everything we do believe that we go through, these gentlemen who have stepped up in the history of our times, all of our veterans are just have gone through much worse and put themselves in a better position. So I just want to say that as the Middletown Rancheria tribal chairman, ultimately, and being a voice of tribal folks from around the county, I'm not only going to go through some of the names that we have at the Middletown Rancheria, but there are some other tribes that, when they heard this was going on, reached out to Auntie Millie through some of the elders and said, hey, could you just mention those names for us. So we've got a little list of those, and it's just great, such a great community and an opportunity to honor those veterans, those Native veterans here. And as you guys all know, in this country and those things, it's that warrior spirit. I know we have an individual right here who's sitting with us today who helped raise these flags, but it's that warrior spirit that we're celebrating today, and their sacrifice and unselfishness for others, and others they don't even know. And for me, being a tribal leader, that really embraces from the tribal side everything, the history that's known in this country, that our tribal folks stood up from day one, that the first folks stepped on this continent to defend it, and they continue to do it to this day. And I couldn't be any prouder to be here today to talk about that. I'm not, as you would say, a historian from the writing it down portion, but from a tribal standpoint and our storytelling and the way that we pass it down, today hopefully I can do that. And I couldn't be any more honored than to sit here with my Aunt Minnie and be pushed in the right direction. I love to hear the word elder in training, because it's constant for us to listen and to understand and to try and carry that message forward. And hopefully I can make our people proud today and just bring this to the community. So that's me as a tribal leader. I also want to say, I can proudly say, serving in the community service aspect, to be the first tribal person elected to the County Board of Supervisors for our Native community. And proud to say I serve with a veteran, another tribal person, E.J. Crandall, who is the chair of the Board of Supervisors at this point, who is serving also. And I take every chance I can to make a note. We are the only county in the country that has 2 tribal leaders or tribal people on the board, which is phenomenal. It's big.
That says a lot for Lake County.
It says a lot for Lake County, the people we come from, the history, but also what we always talk about, taking care of each other as a community. We're all one tribe. Tribes have done that throughout our history. Make sure that people are welcome. We make sure that they're fed. It makes the entire community work. And it's a real testament to the people of Lake County and our districts that have done that. And I'm very proud of that. I get to set that. That's a legacy thing for tribal leaders and for our youth as we're going through this. I know we're here to talk about veterans, but I wanted to make that assertion. And ultimately, like I said, EJ, it's an honor to serve with him on the board, and him being a veteran, it's just one more honor in how much I respect him for what he does. So that is my opening statement. I don't know if you'd like to say anything at this time, Anthony.
Are you going to read the next one?
I'm going to read the names. Okay, excellent. So just a little history on the Rancheria. We have, I'm going to go ahead and read through the Middletown Rancheria names. J.C. Bateman is one of our older ancestors. He's World War I. He is an Army veteran. Ike Gonzalez, he was in World War I. He is with the Army. James Knight, Uncle Jim, as we called him, was World War II. He was in the Army. Mace Knight, Uncle Jim's brother, World War II, Army. Ed Simon, as I said, my uncle Ed, was also in the Army. Lucas Simon served in World War II and was in the Army. Richard John Yee Sr. was in the Army. Salvador Yee was in the Korean War. He was also in the Army. And Brad Knight. Brad Knight is our only living veteran on the Rancheria at this point. He is, he is one of our eldest elders of the tribe. He is there on the res, on the home that the Knights had there for forever, for generations. He is in a smaller unit at this point, but Brad is our living veteran on the Middletown Rancheria. So that is the Middletown Rancheria tribal veterans that we have in our cemetery. As I said, each year that we have the ceremony that goes on at the Middletown Cemetery on Memorial Day, we make sure to get the flags planted up at the cemetery. And we also do the Wreaths Across America celebration for our tribal veterans. And what my son, Joshua Simon, for his senior project, we built a stand. It's not as fancy as the stand at the cemetery, but it is a stand that's at the entrance of the cemetery now, where we can take the wreaths out and we can hang them there each year to honor our veterans. And you know, when they're looking for a senior project, you know, being by, I was like, man, we really got to get something put together to honor those veterans, and to go up there and just tell them thank you. And so I'm proud. It's working very well. Kind of had a project in his mind, and it's really good. So you know, I'm excited every year when I get to do that. Well, I'm going to go ahead and read the rest of these names too. And like I said, there was a lot of excitement throughout the county, and you know, everybody, you know, the name Moke and Mildred Simon with Middletown and the Simon name, people, oh, I know, let's reach out. And so some of these names came through that way. You know, obviously we speak to all of our 7 tribes here in the county. We communicate, and we're always talking about, you know, just honoring ourselves. So,
Moke, what are the 7 tribes here in Lake County?
Now you're getting down. I'm going to miss somebody. Watch now. So you have Middletown Rancheria, you have Scotts Valley, you have the Elim Indian Colony, you have Robinson Rancheria, which is Robinson, you have Upper Lake, Abemetal, you have Big Valley, and then you have the Koi Nation.
Yes.
So there's 7 tribal nations here in the county. You know, I always want to highlight that there are still tribes in this county that are landless tribes. They do not have a federally recognized reservation. You have Scotts Valley, and you have the Koi Nation. You know, and I just always want to highlight those things, because obviously as the indigenous people, the first people to inhabit this country, and we still have you know, tribal nations across the country that are landless. And it really, it's something we're always pushing for, because as the indigenous people that not so much stewardship the land before this country was created, we still have tribes right here in this county that do not have a federal recognized tribal land. So that is something I always want to mention, and we're always trying to work together to hopefully with the federal government to continue to make those land into trust acquisitions and changes that needed, so that all tribal people can have that land, because that's where we're from. We're from the earth, we're from where we're from, and you know, that disconnection is really detrimental to our tribes.
Are there efforts being made for the Scotts Valley? Because I know the Koi Nation relates to Anderson Marsh, and
Well,
efforts.
all 7 tribes in Lake County are with Anderson Marsh.
Okay.
You know, obviously throughout history, obviously Anderson Marsh, with all the tribes in the area, was at the base of Clear Lake. As you know, you've heard the word hitch, the hitch, the salmon. You know, the coastal folks would come with the seaweed, with the stuff to trade. You'd have the folks that would come over from the valley, the Patwins and the Wintoon, everybody would come over. So the base of the oldest lake in, you know, basically the northern hemisphere here, with Clear Lake being over 1 million years old, all the tribal nations gathered, depending what season it was. And at the base of the lake there, obviously you had the salmon run, you had everything that used to come through there, and including the hitch. You know, the hitch, we're fighting to get that back on the endangered species list. I was lucky enough to still be old enough, and I know too many could talk about this, but the hitch used to run and turn that water black.
Yes.
Would come up those creeks, and you know, I talk about some of my most prized memories of Uncle Ed and his big Cadillac. We'd go in the middle of the night, he'd drive, but you know, he'd say, hey, the hitch is running, and we'd go to Upper Lake up there at the bridge right there, and we'd go. You didn't even need a fishing pole, you didn't need nothing. You could just wade right into the creek, because it was down during there, and just scoop them right over, just scoop them right over. You gotta watch out, because they're a little sharp on the bottom too, but man, we'd fill them up and then get the ice chest full or whatever we had to fill up, and we'd load them in Uncle Ed's car and we'd come back to the house, and we weren't real fancy, but he had all the clothesline, which was just wire anyway, and then we'd gut them out and brine them and throw the whole fish on there, and for months we just, while they were drying, we eat them right off the line. But anyway, a memory of just the bountifulness and what was here for our people and why we've survived so long, obviously. So sorry to get off on that, but I love to talk about that as a tribal and a family, because it was Uncle Ed, and we didn't know those little ones, but he's like, get in the car, we're going, we gotta go get that food. And I don't know, I haven't had a lot of dried fish since then. I obviously eat smoked salmon, other things, but just brining it and hanging it out, and it just did what it did, and you'd think, oh, flies, and obviously Uncle Ed knew the right mix of the salt to keep the flies off, and it was some of the best stuff that we had. It would just be piled up on the table, get a piece of bread or tortilla, and just eat that, and it was good. So sorry to go on a memory tangent.
What kind of fish was it?
Hitch.
So it's a hitch. It's a small, just a small little fish about this big, maybe about that. It'd get a little bit bigger maybe, but not much. So they'd run all through here, all the way up all the creeks and everything.
Yeah, they're still here.
They're right on the extinction list at this point, with all the dams, with things in the changes, the agricultural industry, everything. There's less water formers that come through. I know this year there was a bunch of trapped ones, and there was an article in the newspaper, and the EPA directors from Big Valley, other folks that got together, and I think they were able to save about 460 of them to get them into the spawning areas, because they were caught in pools and other stuff. So, yeah.
I'm Moke beside the Pomo, Miwok, and what are the other tribes? Pomo,
Here.
Miwok. Yeah.
So there's Lake Miwok, there's Eastern, there's Northern Miwok, there's Pomo.
Wapo.
In Middletown, so Wapo, as you go through history, Wapo here in the southern and Lake Miwok, we're kind of in the southern Napa area and those other two. Doing some research at this point, there were 2 treaties signed here in southern Lake County, right in this area in 1851. By McKee, I think his name is, or McKay, of the cavalry. So there were 2. There was the O Treaty and the P Treaty that were signed for the Lake County tribes here. So doing some more research on that right now. You really got my mind working. I got some people working at the Washington Archives to get those 2 treaties to really look at that. And it's another thing, educating ourselves, never forgetting where we're coming from. Some of the early stuff I've been able to find was how they communicated with the tribal folks at that time. Obviously, there was a mandate to get these treaties completed, but the only translators they had to do it were Spanish-speaking translators. So the United States government said Spanish-speaking translators to talk to tribal folks to put their mark on and to do these treaties. So in some of the writings back to the DC was, no, these folk, they don't understand. They are not Spanish speaking. They are Native Americans. So it's a language gap and your translators aren't working. So there's some more research that I want to do, and someday we'll come back and we'll talk about that here at the museum, because I really will take every opportunity to educate as we're moving forward in the history in this country, and really look at, what we're doing. We're talking about natural resources and land acquisition. A lot of these things were lined out, and then as sometimes works, we know of the broken treaties and the other things that were not honored. So I'd love to come back when I have the information for us, and we can talk some more about that, because I really want to educate the folks here of Lake County to really understand that history that happened right here, that was signed in August of 1851, to talk about some of these treaties that were signed here. Yes.
Do you know if the different tribes of the Miwok and or the Pomos had a common language?
So there was a shared language. So there were linguistical boundaries. There weren't county lines. There weren't district lines, obviously. So some of the tribes obviously had shared language. I think our language, which we have now, is which is a mixture of Lake Miwok and Pomo, which is Kotsa Dao, is our language, I think, was closer, and Anthony can help me with this, with the Elam folks in this end of the county. So each one of them had a different dialect, and really that's how you knew. There weren't, like we said, there wasn't county boundaries, there wasn't other things. But once you started to travel so far and hearing those different boundaries, it was a linguistic boundary. So each one was different. And the same as, you know, some of the words that we have here locally could mean something totally different at Robinson than it can at Middletown. Or
They communicate generally, right, with each other?
somewhat communication, yeah. Thank you for that question. So I'm going to go ahead and read a few other names here on the list. John Frias, he was a Marine, and John is from,
John is from here, that's Lila's cousin. So they lived out on the Rancheria, and right now he lives up in Fort Bidwell. But he's been around, he went to Middletown School here.
Are we still living?
Yeah, he's still living, and he's a Marine, and he's 70 years old.
yeah. And so we do have some Elam veterans here that I'd like to just acknowledge with today's talk. McKinley Knight, and Marvin Brown, and Cecil Brown. You know, obviously you may have heard those names before here locally.
Yes.
Obviously, and we want to make sure that we honor them. And those are some of our Elam veterans. And last, a non-tribal member, or two of them that are in the Middletown Rancheria Cemetery is Floyd Lord, who was the Army. Obviously, Floyd was, you know, Auntie Millie's husband, and Christina,
my children's father,
Yep.
he was a Marine, and there's Ron Grimm, his family, his brother still lives here, he was a twin. He still lives here, and he was an Army, and that's what I just wanted to recognize. But there's a few other Indians that like Bob Bell, you know, he might kind of speak for himself, since he's a veteran and a live veteran. And, you know, you're really appreciated too and honored to be here with us, and I respect that you came down for this. And
Thank you.
so you can stand up and say where you're from and who are your parents, for I can know too, and where you're from, and I would appreciate that. Thanks, Robert.
Okay. When we get up there,
Oh,
Yeah,
you want to
come on up.
Stand by the flag here.
yeah, my name is Robert Bell. I'm from Laytonville. My father was Ernie Bell, and my mother was Amy Marie Duncan. And the Duncans from Robinson Rancheria are all my relations. And my grandmother raised me because my mom died when I was a year and a half old. And I was raised in Mission. We lived with Oscar John
That
and Agnes.
Big Valley?
Yeah, it's a big valley. Yeah, so I'm related through marriage to a lot of the Johns and some of the, I can't think of their names, but they're from Elam. One guy they call Big E, and Miranda.
okay.
Yeah, 'cause my uncle was their uncle too, Uncle Oscar John. And right now, I'm living in Upper Lake, so I kind of like realized that I kind of like went full circle from Lake County to Mendocino over to the coast. My grandmother, Medora Duncan, she was raised over by Westport, or by Chadbourne Gulch. Yeah, her parents were Chadbourne. Yeah, so that's pretty much my history. I went to Vietnam in 1968, and I got out in 1970. So, and this is my I started a group of veterans up in Laytonville, and I named them the Eagle Warriors, because when I got back, well, actually, when I got to Laytonville, all the veterans up there, we called them uncle, you know, so, and they were all like paratroopers, in the Air Force, had a lot to do with aviation, so that's why I gave them the group the Eagle Warriors name. Yeah, for the Native American veterans. And this flag is the first flag I have made for our group.
Wow.
Yeah, nice job.
I didn't make it. A friend of mine, Martin Rowland, he drew the picture, and I sent it to a flag maker. They made it. This is the first flag we received. Yeah, so now I'm a Native American veteran advocate, because in the past I've read a lot of articles and a lot of books where they named minority veterans, but they only named two type of minorities. That was Afro-American and the Latino American. They completely left out the Native American veterans, and that kind of angered me, so that's why I started that. But I got a binder out in my car. It's got 577 names in it, I think. And they're all the veterans that were from Lake County and Mendocino County both. And there's more, because my cousin, Rosemary Ray, and Ed Arnold, they did all the information gathering, but they quit gathering in 2005. So after 2005, I'd like to get, names. Names and ranks and what service they was in, and include them in the Joy Modera, the Veteran Museum up there in Mayport. That's where I got all that information, got a display on the wall, all the pictures that we had. And I'd like to get more.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's where I'm, that's it.
Well, that's excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Talk about being in the service. I see you have a lot of ink. Is some of that significant?
No. This was all done before I went.
Oh, just for fun?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, because when you think of the code talkers who were so instrumental
Oh, yeah.
in World War II, that they've been acknowledged by our president and honored by the president at the time, but that they were not go ahead.
Yeah, speaking of code talkers, I have found out from a friend that's up in Oregon, who built a veterans park. There was more than one tribe that had code talkers. There's actually 36 different tribes that had code talkers in WW2. So it wasn't just the Navajo.
Right. Oh, okay.
36
36
tribes.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate all that information, and the more of the information that we get out here at these local small events too, is that it's still that storytelling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hundreds of years of, tradition with this country as we move forward, but with that recognition, we run into it all the time. I know we're always there to tell that story and to get into those conversations, but even that today, I did not realize how many tribes, and that's something that we need to do. We need to do that as leaders, as other opportunity folks, but as tribal leaders, really working with our veterans, telling those stories. So I'll commit. Anything you need help with in getting those names up there, please don't hesitate to reach out, because
We need more
it's
copies of the books.
just a great project.
My husband has a library in Kelseyville High School, his own. We need more copies of those books. The kids are loving to read it.
Yeah.
Code Talker.
Yeah.
If we could gather here, do it.
So I know we went over, you know, when we were talking about Middletown Rancheria, and we talked about the other tribes, and, you know, as we said, you know, Robert just said, you know, there's a list of 500 from Lake and Mendocino County. To honor those folks is something, you know, we need to look at to continue to grow on. I think today's talk obviously gives us an opportunity to do that, but we're even learning to as we go forward. Like I said, being able to read those names out loud at the memorial event that happens downtown was a great step in the right direction. Like I said, again, that was an honor for me to do that. And then, you know, now I take that back to the res and we make sure that on the Reflame Day we do the flags, we do those things. So it always keeps me focused as someone that wants to honor our ancestors, and someone, as I said, that takes on that selflessness to step up and do what they need to do for others they don't know and to protect what they believe. So, you know, I really take this seriously to heart, and the older we get, I think that gets closer to the heart all the time, but I couldn't be any prouder to do those things. So we have, like I said, the list of names. We have those folks today. I see we had some folks just join us. I don't know if you'd like to introduce yourselves or...
Yeah, my name's Ron Six Bears Alec. I'm from Cold Springs Reservation, Okabomona,
All right, welcome.
U.S. Army. Served 2 tours Vietnam.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your service. Thank you for being here. So,
And my wife.
yeah.
And the wife.
And the wife. You know how that goes. You brought the boss. Good.
That's right.
And is this a significant uniform that you have brought to share?
Welcome home. Are you
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, but I just want kind of to go into this because I know, because I sit down with Luke and he was the elder and he was the singer and the talker along with my dad and Jim Knight and their sister Dorothy. When they visit, it wasn't like how we talking now. To this day, I don't know why we ever did pick our language up, because when they greeted each other, it was their language all the time. Whether they were amongst the white in our BIA meetings, they still talked their language. They made them wait. They didn't explain to them what they were talking about. But anyway, like Luke showed me at one time about his Army card, and he said, look how the government treated us. And he said, when you get somewhere, he said, you make sure that these Indian people, he said, just because your dad did not go in, he still suffered at home here. He still suffered at home here when a war is going on. It's just that we were in the real meaning of the war with the guns being shot at us, and we learned how to kill people. And that's why I brought these antlers, and that's all they knew how to hunt was deer. That's all they knew hunting. But like he said, when the government took them, which everybody praises the government, we vote for the government, they taught us, and they're still teaching our kids how to kill. How to kill when they're 18 years old. You have to sign up. But anyway, going back to Luke Simon, where it showed like that, they didn't take him on his card. It was not marked Indian. It was white. And see, they agreed. These two Indians agreed. They did not, because it wasn't the Indians' war. Like he said, we're completely different. We are our own country. We had this country. They'll never, never pay us back. Never. That money that they think they're giving us is ours, and we have to stand at the door and beg for it. And he said, it's totally wrong. But he said that that's how, and Jim Knight was there, and that's when he said, yes, they marked us as white people in order to take us, because it was not our war. It was not our war to go and kill those people. But he said it was terrible. He said, I will never talk about World War I. And Jim Knight said, I will never talk about World War I. And you guys probably don't really talk about the Vietnam either, because there is a living vet, Brad Knight. And I know one time I said to him, enjoy your Veterans Day, Brad. And he said, you know what, Mill? Don't say that to me, because I will never, never enjoy Veterans Day, because I know what happened to me. And after that, then I never did. I never did say that to him. still he's living today under health conditions, and now I believe, and you guys probably know more about that orange thing they
Agent
sprayed, Asian orange. That's probably why he's in his health condition right today. And then I speak on behalf of his best friend that went to school with him. He's a non-Indian, but because he's on his deathbed now, and that's Al Taylor. But he was a Green Beret. Gail knows him, Calvin knows him. He was a Green Beret. And right now he's on his deathbed because they just let me know that he was on his deathbed now with cancer, but it's probably because of all that orange, Asian orange spray. That's what, and you guys are lucky. I mean, you just never know what they sprayed on you guys. And it was the government. You know, it was just different governments spraying poison on you guys. But I just wanted to bring that up about Luke, and I can remember my brother Ed when they said, you know, you have to come and I just remember he kind of went around the house, our household, and said, you know, this is where I'm going now. And I remember they enlisted my brother Ray, but he didn't pass because of his hearing. And I remember that one too. It is sad when they're leaving because they don't know if they're coming home. It is sad. It's not something to praise about. Oh yeah, my boy joined this. No, it's not. Because you're either going off to either make it or don't make it. But that's what I wanted to say about that. And Ron and Floyd is my children's dad, and Ron was my brother-in-law, and his brother-in-law his brother still lives here. They were twins, and his brother still lives here out there on past Comstock on that north.
Lucetti's property?
Who?
Lucetti?
Lucetti's property, and Ron Griggs still lives there. But I'm just, you know, like I say, all the veterans are important, no matter what community. Because the government didn't say, are you Indian? Are you black? Are you this? They just took you. And that's the way it is. They didn't care. But I respect every veteran that somebody was involved with. They're just as important. Very important. Like my friend Fiddy, he brought his dog tags in case nobody knows what a dog tag is. But that's just what they had to wear. And Fiddy's the Army man, and I understand that he was a cook. So if he would give us a little time of how if I know you came unprepared, but I know you, Fiddy, you like to talk, and so give us a little history about that cooking thing there. But that's all I have to say. But I do appreciate, and going back to the hitch, Calvin joined Robert, I, and Janet. We went and did that in Lorelike, right there in Anderson Marsh, in that white Plymouth we had, and we went and just loaded 2 tubs up with that hitch. You know what, Calvin? I don't even know what we did with it. Because my mom wasn't living, my dad wasn't living. I don't even know what we did with it.
What did you use to catch them?
Our hands.
Just what you grabbed?
Well, they're just like this, Biddy. They're just like this acorn in this basket. You just
Wow.
stand there and just throw them out.
So
We used to use our t-shirts.
Yeah.
Sure, it works too.
And the Indian ladies use their apron, because I've never seen my aunt standing with the apron. And there used to be a road that goes across. You remember that, into that, from their old, by the cemetery that goes by Lower Lake, then it comes out by that freeway, by Anderson Marsh. And then we used to park there and go in there, and that was fun. It would only take minutes to fill those tubs up. You didn't have to stand out there for a couple hours.
So this is Leonard
That's
Fiddy.
Leonard Fiddy, so he's gonna tell us about his cooking. Because
Well,
now he invites me for dinner out
I
there.
really don't like cooking. It wasn't my favorite. It was just said, thank you. This is with your MOS. You want to go to cook school? Thank you. And that's it. And I did.
What branch were you in, Leonard?
I was in the Army. And, I was in right after Korea. Just when Vietnam was starting. So I was basically Fort Ord.
And how long did you serve?
8. Well, it was a 4-year tour, but I had 6 months active duty and
Okay,
had reserves.
okay.
And so that's where
And
my,
then on Ice Lawless.
and Billy was talking about the draft. We had the draft, and that was a big,
That's still.
motivator for
No, we
me
have a-
to go in, I would have got drafted because A1 is ready to pick you up. And if you go to the reserves, you could stay, go to school, what have you. It's a time.
Well, right now, everyone has to register, but it's an all-volunteer
Yeah,
army.
right.
No one is being drafted per se.
But you know.
When I
you
was there, they
bet-
were drafted.
Yes,
Yeah,
right
yes.
off
They
the
were
streets,
drafted
yeah.
with my brother Ray too. But you think about it, you look around, you bet they're probably more on your toes on that without, you look at our kids that are 17 and 18, you think they'd be ready for a war without that video game? No. That's the really sad part about our kids.
I signed up for the draft in 1966, and I wanted to get further my education, because I didn't graduate, didn't get my diploma. And I tried to join. They wouldn't take me because I didn't have my diploma. And 2 years later, they drafted me.
So do you want to share your experiences?
Yeah, I was drafted. I was
Okay,
drafted in
do you want to stand and
1968.
come up here?
And, yeah.
If it's okay if we...
I also was drafted in 1968 down Fresno, and I went to my boot camp in Fort Ord. And
Come over here because we're videotaping. Okay.
They got a good shot of your belly, huh?
yeah, so it was interesting that you shared about the dog tags. That was one of my biggest concerns when I was in Vietnam. Because when you're down to draft board, they asked you, what's your nationality? I said, Native American. So they went down the list, didn't see Native American, white. What's your religion? I go, Native American. I went down the list, Protestant. So on my dog tag, I'm a white Protestant. So that worried me when I was in Vietnam. I said, if I get shot in Vietnam, this dog tag and this body don't match. I said, I'm never going to make it home. The dog tag will, but I won't. This guy stole it, a white Protestant. I don't look like a white Protestant. That was one of my biggest concerns over it. You find ways to find humor.
Yes.
That was one of them. Yes. My four sons, they were really upset with it. I said, no, that was just the way it was at that time. That's the way of life at that time. They didn't know. They had to list us, and that's how we were listed. And it's kind of comical in a way, but that was history. That's part of history. Yeah, and then we didn't know what was going on. I lived up in the hills and everything, and I got the draft notice. It was a big thing, because we didn't have no electricity yet. We didn't have no electricity, no running water. We lived way up in the mountains, and so the mail came through the old man Tex down below, because he was white, so all the mail would go to him, so he'd get it to us. So he said, hey Ron, you got a mail from the government. So it was a big thing. All my family come around, hey Ron's got a letter from the U.S. government. We sat down and read it, and my grandparents didn't speak English or read. So we had to interpret what was said there. So my grandparents, they're all warriors of the tribe and everything. So we're still defending our land. We're always fighting for our land. So you go over there, we're not fighting for the government, we're still fighting for our land. So that's why we went. Then they asked me, what are you here for? I said, fighting for my land, still here. My ancestors did, my great-grandfathers, grandfathers, uncles, and so it was just like my turn. So, yeah, that's interesting, some people, they ask us that. And I said, well, I'm there because we're still fighting for our land. We never gave our land up, so we're still fighting.
And what is your name again?
Ron Six Bears Alec, Sr. Welcome Momona.
Very good. And you've brought a drum with you?
Huh?
You've brought a drum with you?
Yeah, so,
He
asked me to sing a song today.
Please.
Yeah, another thing too, a lot of people don't realize, we were young. We were 16, 17, 18 years old. The oldest was usually the sergeant or something. He was 20. He was the elder.
Wow.
20 years old, you're the elder over there. And he already did 4 or 5 tours. So he kind of knew already, or they came from like Korea to Vietnam. Well, those were our elders. They're the ones that usually had ranked us. They're the ones that usually took us around out in the field and taught us. You learn. Everything they taught you in boot camp was nothing that was over there. Nothing. Well, in boot camp, you train with the M14. Vietnam, they gave you an M16. What's the M16? Never seen it. It looked like a toy they hand you. So how do we, huh?
Made by Mattel.
Yeah. The handle said made by Mattel.
Mattel.
They changed that. But the first M16 said made by Mattel on the handle. And I thought they were handling as a toy. And, you know, and the barrels would freeze up, so we'd carry extra barrels on us, 3 or 4 barrels that'd freeze up, take it off. That's why we wore the green towels over us. It wasn't for sweat, so we could take it off and take that hot barrel off. Put it back on again, throw that barrel away, because it froze up. Put another one on, until they changed it and gave us an M16 that didn't freeze up on us. But that's real simple.
I lucked out and got to keep my M14.
Huh?
I lucked out and got to keep my M14 over there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Hey.
And are you going to play?
M60 interchangeable
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, they carried that after a while, yeah. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Are you going to play for us and sing today?
Huh?
Are you going to play and sing for us today?
Okay, we're ready.
Oh, and Millie,
Get back up, they're ready.
Anytime?
Yes, please.
my brother Alan went to Vietnam with Al Taylor.
See, there's
And
another close
he
circle.
died of Agent Orange.
Oh.
Yeah,
And, but when Alan he joined the Marines, he was a sergeant, but when he got home, he told Bub and me, he says, "Hey brothers, I can tell you one thing, don't join the service. If you joined for 4, you got drafted for 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, remember that?
So a lot of us call it Velcro rank,
Yeah.
because we never knew. We always getting in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, I got up to about staff 6, I think, one time for 3 weeks and dropped down to PFC. So they said, "What rank you are?" I said, "Velcro."
Yeah, I got up to E4 and come out E1.
Yeah. Yeah, I was sick. Well, I lucked out, came out, buck sergeant. Yeah, after being dropped a couple of times from E6. So they just asked me, now they ask me what rank you were. I said Velcro.
Oh, my goodness. So would you sing for us now, please?
Sure.
Okay, great. Back to the spot. Would you like to sit?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Like we talked about, most of us gave one foot, but some gave all. So this song is honoring our warriors that didn't come home. It's called Warriors Down in our language. And so I want to sing it for all the veterans, past, present, future. We all served a different way, we all got different stories, but we're all veterans.
Would you like everyone to stand?
yes.
So this is Warriors
Those of you
Down.
who are able.
It's honoring all our warriors in the past and into the future with our veterans. First of all, Manahu Hili Hili Ha Shama Ahia. Hoya, hey, 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 hoo, hey, hoo, hey, 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 hoo, hey, 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 hoo, hey, hey. Hoya, 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 oh, hey, 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 hoo, hey, 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 hoo, hey, hoo, hey, 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 hoo, hey, hey. Hoya, 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 oh, hey, 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 hoo, hey, hoo, hey, 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 hoo, hey, hey. Hoya, 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 oh, hey, 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 hoo, hey, hoo, hey, 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 hoo, hey, hey. Yo, 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 hey, ho, yo, yo, do, yo, 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 When?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. What a wonderful presentation. We are blessed to have you as part of our community. We are blessed to be part of your community. Yes, Millie?
I have somebody that's gonna play the taps.
Wonderful.
So,
Okay.
Anybody?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And he's going to play outside,
Well, yeah, 'cause he
Uh-huh.
does well.
so it's going to be loud as he plays taps in honor of all those who have died and all who have been interred.
Are they outside?
No. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Well, this has been a magnificent time to remember, to acknowledge, and to give thanks to all who have served. Next month, we will have another chat at the Gibson, the second Saturday of the month at 3 p.m. And next month, it will be Bob Donnelly, who will be talking about the creation of the Middletown Central Park, as well as the building of the arena here in Middletown. So please join us in giving thanks to all who have participated, including Millie and Supervisor Moke Simon.
Chairman.
Pardon me, Chairman Moke Simon. Thank you.
I wanted to say, since you asked about that, that is my brother Ed Simon's jacket. I couldn't find the hat, I don't know, but that is his jacket.
Is Ed
So
Simon's
that's what I
Army
brought.
jacket.
But I will honor any Indian that served, because
Yes,
I know, and any non-Indian,
yes,
you know, that it's just
yes,
what they did for us, and that's why we're standing here today.
yes. Thank you.
Yeah, today was, like I said, honestly, take it to heart every time. I want to thank you for coming, and Robert for speaking. I also want to invite you as tribal veterans to our Indian Day celebration in September. It's the third Saturday. If you guys would come and be honored.
Where at?
I'd love that, right out at the casino.
Oh, at the
Right out in
casino?
front out there, yeah.
Okay.
I want to put that out there for you guys. You can reach out through Minnie or myself, but I'd love to have you come this year, and we could, I will make sure to honor you at that day too, so that would be a great.
September 3rd.
Yep, third Saturday, so.
Third Saturday?
Third Saturday in September. And everybody's invited, but I just, right now, I was just thinking how honored I felt to be here today. I will give you
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And here's information about the Veterans
Put me down there,
Museum.
I'll be there.
Okay,
in
September 3rd.
Lakeport.
Cool.
And the
Thank you.
hours that it's open.
An honor.
So if you'll share these.
They actually open.
Oh, you got these. Thank you.
Christina, do you know what day it
Yes.
is? The Indian day?
Because I know they closed for a while.
Turn on my
Third
phone.
Saturday? Third
It's the
Saturday?
third Saturday, I don't have my phone open. Starts at 10 a.m.
Yes, thank you. Nice meeting you as well.
Yeah.
The six guys.
September 17th. So
September
September 17th, please put that on there, and
Okay.
please do. And reach out, did you with the committee or myself, either way, however you can communicate with us. We'll make sure we get your room so you ain't gotta drive over that day.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you for all the veterans in the room. Thank you for everything that you've done for us.